Hello, everybody. My name is Zen. I'm part of PALO IT's People Experience team. I specialize in talent acquisition. So if you don't really know, PALO IT is basically an international consultancy. We specialize in human-centered design, agile software development, and transformation of forward-thinking companies. And I'll be your moderator for today. Together with us today, we have Faisal and Kevin. So can start off with a quick introduction. So Kevin is basically the Hive Master for our digital technology Hive in PALO IT. So Kevin, why don't we start with a quick introduction about yourself and maybe a little bit more about your journey with PALO IT so far?
Sure. So hello everybody. So as introduced, I'm Kevin. I'm the Hive Master for Digital Technology. I've started, like I would say, as a software engineer. I don't know, maybe 15 years back in Switzerland. So I'm from the French part of Switzerland. That's why the accent. Uh, and then after like few years in Switzerland, I was working in a financial company developing financial software for them. I was sent to Singapore to be part of a team here. So a mix that was between Switzerland and Singapore, and I was the only representative in Singapore. And I was involved in like different aspects of it, so in business, pre-sales, and so on. And that's why I started a bit leading a bit more teams and like requirements and how to handle more like with people relation. And then after that, I decided to stay in Singapore. I found a job as I would say VP of technology in a small startup, which I was leading a very small team of like 5 to 6 people, and that built up a bit more my leadership skills. After that, I joined Palo IT. It's been now about 3 years. And in Palo IT, I started as a tech lead, so leading different teams on different projects. Again, like build up my leadership skills, management skills, and so on. And more, I became a bit the right hand of the head of department. And after he left, basically I was promoted to that role about a year ago. So it's been a year now that I'm heading this department with about 50 people now.
50 people is a very conservative number.
Yeah, growing more and more.
Okay, thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you for that. It's very nice. Okay, and then we also have Faisal. Faisal is the Hive Master of Tech Transformation Hive in Palo IT. Faisal, say hi. Tell us a little bit more about your role in Palo.
Thank you, Zen. Hi everyone. So I had the Technology Transformation Hive. The Technology Transformation Hive essentially is made of software engineers as well, but a bit more focus on infrastructure, on DevOps, and less so on development directly. So the few teams that we have within technology transformation, it's DevOps and cloud, data, test automation, and SRE. SRE is this production, support or production operations team that we have set up. In terms of a bit more about myself, I started as a support person, actually, on a particular software called Murex in the financial industry. It's mostly used by all the investment banks for the investment activity. About 10 years ago, and so we made a very conscious decision at Palo IT about 4 or 5 years ago to move away from technologies which were very specific or niche. So it's more, how do we find things which are more generally applicable and move towards that. So that's where the focus on DevOps, data, SRE, and test automation came in. And yeah, so since then I've been working in those areas. I started as a consultant, then moved to a senior consultant, a lead, and eventually a Hive Master. I've been with Palo IT Singapore for about 7 years now, and going to be 8 very soon, I think, if I'm not wrong.
10.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Faisal. Thank you for that. So I think you just started the conversation a little bit about transitioning from Murex into something else, right? Maybe you can start off the conversation with a little bit about how that journey was like for you, and maybe any advice to anybody that's listening, going through something similar for themselves, like moving from one tech to another, or maybe non-tech into tech.
Sure. No, so I think it's generally, I wouldn't underplay it. I think it's a bit more of a challenge than for people who might get trained in that specific area. But at the same time, technology is ever changing, ever evolving. you do need to adapt to the different landscape that you might have. The journey was relatively long for us. I think as a team, we took a couple of years to really transform everybody as part of that team. But I could talk about myself. It was a bit more focused on what commonalities there were. So it was production support, it was release management, it was release planning, and these were things that were transferable to when we were talking about DevOps and test automation, right? So that's kind of the key here, I think, is to identify some skills that are common to the target sort of industry or role that you're looking at. So for people who are coming from non-tech backgrounds, I would say look at maybe some of your soft skills, which could be around requirements gathering, could be around project planning, could be around some other things that it could be the industry that you're in. So if you are in banking but not in tech, you could move to tech within banking and leverage that. So it's about finding those commonalities. It's about finding those commonalities and making sure you leverage them when you do that transition. We had a team of young software developers who were making career switches from a variety of different backgrounds when I was working with one of the clients. And I thought that was quite inspiring because you get to bring a wealth of information and experiences from your previous industry. So definitely encourage that. Just know that it's a bit of a steep learning curve in the beginning, but you can do it if you leverage your common points. Zann?
Thank you, Faisal. Okay, one follow-up question would be, so you talk about the tech landscape being ever changing, right? So how would you like select one besides focusing on what you already know? Maybe Kevin can jump in as well. If there was somebody that was interested to move into tech and there are so many big words that are coming around every single day, right? I mean, if you think about it, there's new technologies that are popping up every few days. So where do you think you should focus your efforts on? Do you just go big like umbrella wide, or do you just go focus down on a certain topic?
Well, that's a challenging question. I would say you can ask different people; they're gonna come up with different answers. So I will give you my personal view on that. So there's different type of engineers, of people. You have those kind of T-shape, that you know a lot about something, but you're very expert into one topic, and you know a little bit about everything. Or you have those more V-shaped that, okay, you specialize in one or multiple areas, and you, I would say, average to good in a lot of other areas, which I believe as a consultancy, this is where you could excel. So I would not suggest to pick just one topic, let's say just a front-end application. You can be very good at that, but I don't think um, you should skip the rest. You should still be good at understanding as a technologist overall. You can't really build a solution just by focusing on your single aspect, on your aspect that only you know. So for me, my advice would be start with one topic. Let's say, okay, you want to learn JavaScript or web, start with this, dig into that. And by digging into this, you will find other topics that you like and go explore. Don't be afraid to go a bit all over the place to understand how everything works together. Because on a project, you see, you never work on one aspect. A project is always multiple components that integrate together. I think you're on mute, Zann.
Oops. So yes, so I think you both talk about being transitioning, right? So different careers into technology or tech, and then scaling up from there. How about advice to a fresh graduate? I think we have a few fresh graduates joining us today. What kind of advice would you give? I mean, usually they will go for maybe 2 or even 4 years course, exploring various technologies, right? Where would you advise for them to get started in? And let's say if they're interested in consultancy, would it be a good step to start in a consultancy because you get to explore everything, or would it be good, in another way around? How would you take up on that? Whoever wants to answer.
I could have a first go at it, and then we could go to Kevin. Thank you, Zann. So my take on this is there's no one advice that I think is going to work for everybody. So you have to do a bit of thinking about what sort of role or career do you want for yourself? There are people who are very comfortable being experts in a specific area, and sometimes this is the area that I want to go in, right? So we always have these people who are like, I'm a front end person, I'm going to focus on this, or even I'm a React person, I'm going to focus on this, right? So not maybe not advocating that, but if that's what it is, it's a fair thing, and you could really get started with that specific technology or that specific area and stay in it for a while. The other approach is to try a little bit of everything, and you become a more well-rounded personality. And I think that kind of gels in with what Kevin was mentioning as well. And that's also totally, feasible and doable. When it comes to working for a consulting, I think you have more opportunities to try out different roles and different clients and different environments. So it's a bit more fast-paced in terms of learning and growth, at least in my opinion. So I think it's definitely one of the good options. But if you're looking for a more sort of one-track career, might not be the best to get started with. That's kind of the way I would summarize it. Kevin?
No, I'm quite aligned with you on that. And I give an example as well that there's a lot of people who go from one to the other, that start in a product company, which I did, for example, and then you move to a consultancy and you do back and forth. So that's very common that you go in one area and then you switch because you want to see something else. So I would say maybe a difference between what's a good consultant and what's a product company. Maybe if it's not clear for people out here. So product really work for a company on a specific product, and you're going to be hired only for that specific skill and to work on that specifically. And you can work like maybe sometimes multiple years on the same project or same product. Where a consultant, usually you go on different projects. So with different clients, you can be maybe 3, 6, maybe 6 months to 1 year on one project and then go somewhere else, or sometimes even on multiple projects at the same time. So this is what makes, I would say, a good consultant, the ability to very switch quickly, to know a lot of technology and to be able to advise client on how to do things properly.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin and Faisal. So we have one question. So basically, it says from Anonymous, what does it mean to be a consultant? But maybe I want to rephrase this a little bit more. On top of that, what does it mean to be a good consultant in Palo IT? What does it mean to be a consultant from Palo IT? Okay, who wants to take that? Maybe Kevin, since you just left off.
Sure. So as I mentioned, like for me, a good consultant is someone that can learn quickly. So because maybe now I'm very good at Java and I'm good at like Spring framework, for example, and okay, there is a new project or something that's going to come up and they need advice on JavaScript front end. So okay, I'm not an expert into that, but at least I understand the principles. I can really read about it, learn about it, and I can go and really help them because of my experience that I have on multiple projects. So I would say for me, that's one of the big a plus of being a consultant, a good consultant, is to adapt quickly and learn quickly.
Very nice. And Faisal, do you have anything to add?
No, so more just maybe the role of a consultant, at least the way we talk about it, is to help clients who might have a specific need or a challenge that they're trying to address. So you are going from one client to another, helping them on specific challenges that they have. So you grow as a consultant, or you grow in that specific area, and multiple clients get to benefit from that experience that you have. Right, so that's kind of the definition, I guess, of what that is. But I think Kevin's addressed the other part. I have a bit of a technical issue. I'm going to be right back in like 3 minutes then, but I'm right here.
Okay, sure, no problem. Okay, thank you, Faisal.
He's
Okay.
leaving me alone now.
Yeah, it's leaving us alone now. It's private conversation. Okay, so with the consultancy, I mean, you answered it out of the way, right? But I would say that for people who are interested to join Palo IT, right, as a consultant. So what would you say that you look out for during the interview, or at least when you have a first conversation with somebody? What would make this person stand out, or we want to push this person forward?
Okay. For me, it's really, as I mentioned earlier, what makes a good consultant. This is what we're going to look during the interview. So to see how how fast you can learn and how you can adapt. So to see, like, for example, what you have done in your career so far. And even if you switch career, for me, it's a very good sign as well. It means that, okay, you're not afraid of changes and that you can really learn quickly new skills. So for me, that's even a plus, even if you do a switch. Um, so for me, that's something I will look into an interview that maybe can stand out. So, and as well, like what's in a good interview, I mean, what I looked in the interview is first your technical skills, so growing and how you good technically you are like to fulfill the role, of course. And second is, can we work together? So the communication skills and relationship skills, because as a consultant, you're going to be on different projects and with clients and with different teams. So are we able to work together? And because we're going to work together. So for me, this is something I will look into an interview.
Okay, thank you. And for Faisal, the question posed was basically, what do you look out for in the candidate during the first conversation with them or during the interview process?
So I think it's a couple of things. Like for me, one of the main things is going to be how well you adapt, right? Because the industry that we're in, it's ever evolving, like we've discussed before, and it's really important to be able to unlearn and relearn some of the things that you might have. Right. So obviously there's a check. There's the first check, which is a specific role that we might have, and we might need people for that specific role. That's done. But I think a generic, ability to unlearn and relearn is quite important. What is quite interesting, I think, is that this is not something that you need to do only in technology. It's in today's world, the way it's evolving and changing, you need to be able to learn new things at a very fast pace in any industry that you're in. So that would be one of the core skills that you would want to try and assess as part of the interview.
So if let's say I'm learning something new, do I bring this up during an interview? Because like, oh, I'm just enrolled myself in the course. I'm in my first week of the course. Do I bring this up during the interview? Would you see that as a plus point? Because I maybe I only worked on it for like a week or so. What would you? I just put it on my resume as I'm proficient in it. Or do I bring it up during the first conversation?
So my take on this is you should bring it up. You should mention it, depending on how passionate you are. It should come up. But what we're looking for usually is a little bit of validation on that as well. So what works well is if you're learning, AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, is if you could prove it somehow. And this could be, okay, your GitHub repository, maybe you have some code there that you've worked on in the past, or a certification that says you've completed a particular course. The certification part, I'll be a bit more cautious on this, because it's very easy to get very, very, very good at getting certifications for the sake of it. And that's not where the real value is. The real value is in learning these things. And an interviewer is typically going to be able to assess your expertise in those areas. So for me, if you're working on something, you should mention it. You shouldn't mention it as something that you're proficient in. You should be fair in your assessment of that. And I know this one's a bit harder, because sometimes you might think you're proficient in something just by getting an introduction to it, but it takes a bit more than that. But try and be fair in that assessment, because the interviewers are experienced people, and they are going to be able to assess that for themselves.
Very good. Kevin, do you have anything to jump in?
No, I'm completely aligned. Just be careful, if you mention something, you might be interviewed on that, or the interviewer might dig a bit more. I think it's always good to mention, but if you mention it, ensure that you know your basics, that you didn't just started to learn it yesterday just for the sake of technology or name dropping in the interview.
Yeah.
I have an example that happens to me no time ago. I think an interviewee came and said, okay, I'm learning Golang and so on. And okay, it's a bit a trend, the Golang language. And I think my first question was, oh, okay, so can you explain me how the Go routine works, which is one of the fundamentals of Go? And he was not really, he didn't know what's a Go routine, for example. So for me, that's a bit weird. So I will be more careful.
Okay, thank you for that. We have one question. So what is the uniqueness of PALO IT compared to other consultancies? I will take that question. Just kidding. So maybe Kevin, do you want to start off first?
Please go ahead, Zann. No,
because I'm involved in PALO IT, so
no, I can start, and then Faisal, you can add on that. So I don't want to add names of other companies, but I would say one of the big difference of Palo is the way we staff projects. So we don't do, or we try at least not to do staff augmentation, meaning just sending someone for the sake of sending someone somewhere alone. We try always to build team together and grow team together, and send them as a team, and to to feel part of the Palo community. So that's why we have a structure as well with mentor, lead, and dojos. That I don't want to talk too much about that. It's going to take too long otherwise. But basically, that gives you access to trainings, learning, mentoring within Palo. And I think this is quite unique. That the ability of really taking time off project to really learn, be part of the Palo IT family, and still on project, you're still part of that team or project or family within the project too, and not just left alone somewhere. In a Changi Business Park, for example.
thank you, Kevin. And Faisal?
Fair enough. No, so I think Kevin's covered it. Honestly, that's the key. For me, one of the things that I would want to highlight, because it might be something that's very unique to Palo IT, is the focus on learning. We work with each of the consultants, or each of the Paloans, as we call them, to come up with a very comprehensive, unique training and learning plan that's tailored to them, right? So you could be a junior, software engineer, or you could be a Hive master. You have a training plan, and this training plan is something that you work on with your mentor, and through the year you focus on going through all these learning experience, be these experiences on projects or specific trainings that you attend. So that's one aspect of it. We have this done for our leaders as well. So there's something called the leadership SWOT, which is a dedicated set of trainings for how we train our leaders to be more more interested in the people that they're leading rather than themselves, and in less of a manager, more of a leader, and that's a mindset shift that we work on. We have the leadership SWOT being expanded to involve all the Palo ones in that as well. So very big focus on learning, and it's a running theme through the past few years, and every year there's a renewed focus on how can we do this even better. Right, so it's a really great effort over there.
So thanks for bringing up learning and development in Palo IT. I think it's a very big part of anybody's career at this current moment. So talking about learning and development, right? And I think Kevin, you mentioned about somebody being situated on site, right? So how do we navigate that kind of situation where maybe you're like 2 or 3 people on site at the client? How do I reach out? What kind of support can I expect of my mentors or my leader? Besides like learning and development plan, what kind of policies are put in place, or if you can share, what kind of policies or structure would you recommend in especially you can see that in Palo IT right now? Anybody?
I think you broke in the middle of the questions, but I'm still going to try to answer what I understood. So basically, how we support our team on projects, right?
Yes.
Okay, so as I said, so there is training and so on that basically they allow to take some days off. So that's one thing. The other thing is on project. Usually we have leads that are quite senior in the company that will ensure that they are well mentored on the project, that everything is going well. At the moment as well, we're working on a new initiative that's going to be that's starting to be rolled out to provide people on project tools, guidelines, and I would say not process, but mostly tools and guidelines on how they can really excel in the delivery itself. So we're really doing a lot on that at the moment, and we're going to provide as well videos and training that even you can really watch from anywhere, especially now during COVID. You know, everything is remote, online, so we have to do it a bit differently.
Thank you, Kevin. Faisal, do you have anything to add?
So I'm not gonna say no, nothing to add, because essentially that's becoming a recurring theme. No, but that's mostly it. But I think it's really those mentor check-ins, right? So regular check-ins with your mentor, which make a huge difference. Ensuring that you there's every now and then a random surprise that you would get from the HR team or the people's team, and all that stuff makes you, quite make you feel part of the family. And not just this, the events that we host, which are really, I mean, before COVID obviously, which were the highlight of you being a Palawan. I'm quite proud of those as well, at the office, or the annual retreat, and all that stuff is really great to form bonds, and to ensure that you know who are the people who can support you if there's ever a need.
Okay, since you both brought up work from home, so I mean, majority of our consultants right now are working from home, and the PALO IT People Experience team has, I would say, come up with many different strategies. But on your both sides and your hives, right? How do you think the consultants are taking it, and what do you think is like the plan or strategy towards balancing working from home for the next at least, and I don't know, 3 to 6 months or indefinitely? This is a tough one. I don't know how you're gonna answer.
It's the internet, Zen. It's not being very kind. I think sometimes you're breaking. No, but I can try and address it as good as I think I can, and then maybe you can jump in, Zen, because this is something that you can help us get more visibility on as well. It's been a pretty difficult time, I think, in general, for people. I don't think anybody realized how difficult it's going to be to always be glued to your screens, for an indefinite period of time. And working from home, which seemed like a great idea before COVID, in some sense became not such a great idea during this time, right? But what I can say is that everybody at Palo, and I think in general, has powered through it. There has been such great support from the company in this particular case, that it's really impressive, right? So we have held. So I think I can talk about Honey Fridays, which are always pleasant surprises that arrive at your doorstep. There's coaching sessions which are being conducted. There's wellness activities that are being conducted, and there's been a very conscious effort on making sure we stay connected, and everybody is feeling taken care of, because otherwise it could have been even more challenging. There's obviously the logistical support, so setting up your home offices, getting monitors, and accessories. That's been super helpful as well. In terms of coming back to the office, I foresee that we are, at least at Palo IT, we're going to mostly be a distributed team for the near future, at least for the next 3 to 6 months, even if the office opens up, and some of us might be able to go back on a need basis. I don't think we are asking everybody to come back anytime soon. Right? That's kind of the way I see it. I do think one thing that's a bit different for us in our industry is that we have clients who might have slightly different policies, and so in some cases they might ask us if we could come back to the office, but our response is going to be quite clear, that we would prefer if everybody works from home or remotely for as long as we can.
Very good answer there. Okay, Kevin, do you have anything to add? Maybe have you encountered anything different from the consultants? Oh no, is it very bad? I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
you
Can you hear
broke
me?
like for
We,
yes now.
we,
Okay,
we missed the whole
right.
question.
Right. I see. Very good answer, Victor. So I was wanting to ask Kevin, have you noticed any change in behavior or any change in the outcome of the work from the team, especially now that we are working fully remotely? So I don't even think people meet each other right now on a weekly basis at all. So have you noticed any change in the work that has been done?
So I think it depends on which aspect of the work you're talking about. If we're talking about productivity in general, I don't think there was any drop. Or there was even slightly. I think even we're even more productive, because I think like for teams you have less disturbance and you really work on your own time. I would say. So in that front, no problem. I would say what becomes a problem is more about the relationship or the human aspect of it. That, as Faisal said, that we all like be on the screen the whole day, so we don't have those coffee machine discussion or just like randomly going with someone for food, for lunch, or for something, or even after work. So I think this is a bit the difficult part of it. That's one aspect. The second aspect, as well as Faisal mentioned, is we had to equip ourselves home. So with monitors, with I don't know, keyboards, or it's a better internet connection, or I don't know what. But I think this was a challenge at the beginning, that people were not really equipped, and this is where Palo as well stepped in and provided monitors and as well money for people to equip themselves. So this was very good move from Palo IT, and now I can see it's going way better. So those, I would say, are the challenge, but the remaining one is still the proximity of your colleagues, and even like sometimes you don't see when somebody's struggling. So if you have like people that are a bit more shy, or that not really don't communicate a lot, it's very difficult to see what's happening as a lead. So you really have to be very active or proactive to reach out to them and really ensure that everything is okay. Just calling them, putting the webcam on, just the visual aspect of it is very important. Um, so I would say these are the challenges, at least on my side.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kevin. I think we are running towards the end of our session already. If anybody has any questions, please fire them away. But before we go, maybe Kevin and Fraser, do you want to elaborate more open roles that we have now in Palo IT? And tell us a little bit more. Help. I need to invest in better internet connection. That's what I should have used the money for. Yeah, tell us a little bit more about the open roles we have here in Palo IT. Maybe a brief description of what will make a good candidate for those roles.
Maybe I could start, because I want to actually go back to one of the questions, which was what makes Palo IT different. And I realized that we didn't talk about the culture when Kevin was speaking about people who might be a bit shy. The culture, there's been multiple people who joined Palo IT and then would be like, wow, I didn't realize that you guys were such an open company, such a fun bunch of people to work with, and you know, such openness on who you could approach, because you know you could be talking to the hive masters, but not only, you could be talking to the CTO and the managing director, because they're all there and they're always available, you know, for chit chat. And that's really quite great. I think having a very open culture is another differentiator that I think we should talk about. To come to Zann's question, at the moment, maybe I could talk about the technology transformation hive, and then we could go to Kevin for the digital transformation hive. On the technology transformation hive, we're actively looking for roles in all four teams. So that would be your DevOps and cloud team. We're looking for DevOps and cloud engineers, right? And that those could be two separate roles. So you could be a DevOps engineer or a cloud architect or cloud engineer. We're looking for test automation engineers in the test automation team, and we're looking for two different types of people in the SRE team. One of them is more focused on customer support. So this is this is beyond your typical you know, support role. You need to be hands-on. You need to be a developer or an infrastructure person to be able to do this. And we're also looking for more senior SRE people, more experience on cloud and monitoring aspect of it. On the data side, we're always almost always looking for data engineers, data architects, and we have roles around data science, etc. But at the moment, we're not actively looking for a data science person. It would be quite tricky to go into what each of the role needs, but I'm happy to have a chat if someone's interested in a specific role, to go more deeper into what that role entails. Kevin?
Yes, so on DT side, so digital technology, we at the moment always looking for talented people. So, but especially in application and mobile. So at the moment we differentiate both, meaning application is more like front end, so web front end, or back end like REST API and so on solutions. Where the mobile is really mobile oriented, so can be iOS or Android native, or even hybrid like Flutter, React Native. If you have experience into that, of course, you're welcome to join the mobile. So we're actively looking at these two roles. And I think we're looking for multiple people into this, so not only limited to one. So if you're excited to join us, please send your resume to Zann.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Faisal and Kevin. So we'll be wrapping up this session. So I'll be sending an email to all the attendees about the open roles and a brief description of the roles that we're looking for. I'm happy to have a chat with you as well. If you have any questions that you didn't ask, I will answer them as well. So thank you everybody once again for joining our AMA today. I hope you learned a little bit more from the three of us, and I'll be ending the session right now. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Zann.
Thank you, Zann. Thank you, everyone.